All right. As I've been talking about, you get the same old talking points: gun control, mental health spending. Very few political leaders have the courage to ask the real questions. Now, there are some. Um, Dan Patrick, Lieutenant Governor of Texas, he's addressing the moral issue, the moral breakdown. But also this week in Washington, Senator Mike Lee, who is a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee, he asked this question.
Why is our culture suddenly producing so many young men who want to murder innocent people? It raises questions like, could things like fatherlessness, the breakdown of families, isolation from civil society, or the glorification of violence be contributing factors?
Well, joining me now to talk about this is Dr. Lynne Marie Kohm, professor of family law at Regent University School of Law, who has researched and studied this very issue. Dr. Kohm, welcome to Washington Watch.
Thank you for having me, Tony. I'm honored to be here.
Now, you have extensive research studying events, statistics, legislation, and case law into juvenile violence. Now, from your studies, what have you learned about the state of the family and how this contributes to juvenile violence?
You're absolutely right. The state of the family makes a huge difference. There are common denominators for all of these boys that make these decisions to go violent. And I have a list of 5 of them that came from my research. I thought I'd go through. The first one is that there's very little parental involvement. Parents are not around. They don't know who the kid is hanging out with, who his friends are. They're just not involved in the child's life. They're almost afraid of their own child. The second thing I noticed is that there's some kind of stress on the child. The child is going through some kind of stress, whether it's, some kind of bullying or some other kind of stress. And then there's a whole lot of time alone. The kids spend so much time alone. And that leaves all kinds of time to do things that kind of increase this radicalization toward violence that you sort of mentioned at the beginning. The big thing that I noticed with every violent child is that there's this loss of a sense of truth, that they don't really know what's right and what's wrong. And the most alarming thing is that they have this incredible lack of remorse of what's happening and what they're doing, and a lack of, just an unprecedented, it doesn't matter type of thing. And that's really, I think, what shocks the conscience the most.
Well, you point to, almost all those issues have a connection to the main questions we ask in life that come from, number one, our faith and the big questions. Why are we here? It also involves the family. I think about this when this lack of engagement from family, this lack of direction and input. In Ephesians, Paul warns fathers. He says, "Fathers, do not provoke your children to wrath, but bring them up in the training and the admonition of the Lord." Now, often that's interpreted that, don't be too harsh with them. But our children are growing up in wrath because the fathers are not engaged with them and are not there present in their lives, helping them through this transition into adulthood.
That is absolutely true. Without a strong father figure or someone that can step in, even if dad's not available, someone that can step in. And that's why the law tries to encourage fathers, but it's up to the father and the mother of the kind of involvement they have with the child. You're absolutely true. I've written a lot about the tragic things that happen when dad's not involved. And most of these kids don't have an involved dad. Even if there's a dad around, the dad is not out playing catch with them. He's not,
Right.
taking them to ball games.
It's not just being physically present; it is being emotionally involved and engaged in the life of a child. Now, Dr. Kohm, I want to ask you from your research. Look, the law is a tutor. Okay, so we know the law has a place and a role. What new laws may make a difference? What are there things that can be done that can address this issue? Granted, I know the foundation is in the family and is in return to a moral foundation, but are there laws that we can entertain?
Well, when the biggest thing that I'm thinking about is parents right now feel powerless in schools. They feel like they can't do anything those parents outside that school felt powerless in a huge way. And all this past year, I would say, a lot of parents have felt powerless about what their kids are being taught. So there is a law that has been part of our nation's history and tradition for over 100 years that says parents have the right to direct the upbringing of their children. But because they've been
Yes.
pushed aside, they've kind of abrogated that and really become apathetic about it. So I think maybe this, I hate to say this, but there needs to be a revival of parental rights, parental involvement. There's been such an assault on parental rights that parents feel impotent, that they can't do anything to protect their kids. I listened to the interview of the mom of this shooter, and she was almost afraid of her son, almost afraid of, what can I do? I can't do anything. I'm only the mom. We got to get over that.
You are absolutely right. You are absolutely right. We have emasculated parents. We have taken away their power and their authority because they're afraid, because the government's crowding them out. You were so spot
If I
on,
do
Dr.
that, they
Kohm.
might call Child Protective Services on me. I can't
Exactly, and I've seen that happen as a former lawmaker and as a police officer. I've seen that. Look, Dr. Kohm, we're out of time, but I can tell you this: we're going to want to talk about this a lot more, and so I look forward to having you back on real soon.
Keep up the good work, Tony. Thank you.